Today, we're going to break down one of the most important and honestly fascinating processes in American government: how someone lands a job as a federal judge for life. So let's just start with that question. Really think about it. A job with huge power that you basically can't be fired from. How on earth does a person get a gig like that? It is definitely not your average job hunt. That's for sure. The whole thing really boils down to two major players: the president and the Senate. You can almost think of it like the world's most intense two-part job interview. The president makes the initial pick, and then the Senate gets the final say. And getting how this works is absolutely key. So first, we're going to look at how the president even picks a nominee. Then we'll dive into the Senate's role in confirming them, which can get pretty wild. And finally, we'll connect the dots on why these appointments have such a massive, lasting impact on all of us. Okay, so it all has to start somewhere, right? And that somewhere is with the president. Let's dig into that first crucial step, the presidential pick. Everything that comes after, all the news coverage, the intense hearings, the political debates, it all gets kicked off by one person making one single official decision. And that official action is called the nomination. This is the moment the president formally puts a name out there, proposing their chosen candidate to the Senate and to the whole country. It's the president basically saying, all right, this is my person, I think they're the one for the job. Which, of course, leads to the million-dollar question: how do they even choose? A president doesn't just throw a dart at a board. There is a ton of strategy that goes into every single one of these choices. And here's the bottom line. Presidents are thinking about their legacy. They want to pick judges who they think will see the law the same way they do, someone who aligns with their own political and social viewpoints. It all comes down to this key idea: judicial philosophy. This isn't just about a fancy resume. It's about a judge's deep-seated beliefs on how to read the Constitution. For instance, you'll hear about judges who believe in originalism, which means they try to interpret the Constitution exactly as the founders wrote it. Then there are others who follow more of a living constitutionalism idea, where they believe it should be interpreted in the context of our modern world. By picking a nominee with a certain philosophy, a president is hoping to shape the country's direction for years, even decades after they've left the White House. All right, so the president has officially made their pick. But, the journey is far from over. In fact, this is where it gets really intense. Now, the nominee has to face what is basically the Senate gauntlet. The nomination doesn't just go out to all 100 senators right away. Nope. First, it lands on the desk of a much smaller but incredibly powerful group that acts as the first line of defense, the gatekeepers, if you will. And that gatekeeper is the Senate Judiciary Committee. Think of this committee as the super detailed expert interview panel. These are the folks who go through the nominee's entire life and career with a fine-tooth comb. They hold these intense, televised hearings, and then they take the first critical vote on whether the nominee even gets to move forward. And just getting past that committee is only the first major hurdle in what's really a four-step marathon. So after those hearings and the committee vote, the nomination then goes to the full Senate for a big debate. And only after all of that does it finally face that up or down confirmation vote from every single senator. If, and trust me, in today's political world, that is a very, very big if, the nominee manages to get through all four of those tough steps, they finally get the ultimate prize. And that final prize is called confirmation. This is it, the official "you're hired" from the U.S. Senate. The moment that happens, the judge can officially take their seat on the bench for life. So we've walked through the whole process, the nomination, the confirmation gauntlet, but let's get to the most important part of this whole conversation. Why should any of this actually matter to you? Believe me, it matters a lot. Because once these judges are appointed, they have an incredible amount of power. Their rulings on everything from healthcare to voting rights to privacy can change our daily lives. And that's especially true for judges appointed to the most powerful court in the whole country. And at the very top of that entire system, you have the Supreme Court. It's the highest court in the land, the final say on the law. And the 9 justices who serve there can literally shape the direction of American society for generations. A single vote on one case can change everything. This quote right here really just says it all, doesn't it? The choice of just one person who has to go through this whole political battle can end up steering the legal and social path of the country for decades. That right there is the real power and the real consequence of a lifetime job. So, this whole process is complicated, it's messy, it's deeply political, and it kind of leaves us with a final big question to chew on. When we're talking about the people who get to interpret our laws for their entire lives, what's the one quality you think is the most important? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning into this explainer.